Okay, I think that we have everybody and that we're ready to begin. So this is the 2021 budget workshop for Mason County, continued from last Monday. And we have in the room Kevin Schutte, Sharon Trask, Randy Netherland, Don Twitty, Diedrich Allen, Leo Kim, Ross McDowell, Vicki King, and myself, Jennifer Byerly. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and everybody should now be able to see the 2021 Mason County proposed budget presentation revenue, November 9th, 2020, hopefully. Okay, so we have, starting with revenue for the general fund department, the beginning fund balance is 14 million, and this is in maintenance level. And then we have all revenues, other revenues, $39,086,554 for a total of $53,086,554. And we have on the expenditure side, total expenditures of $40,569,196 and ending fund balance of $12,517,358 for a grand total of $53,086,554. With that, the change from last week's presentation, we had a difference of $1,773,825. This week we have a total difference of $1,482,643. So we added back $291,182 into the general fund, and that consists of $60,000. That was a cash balance transfer from the Historical Preservation Fund number 116 to Department 126. We added in 2% for non-union salary and benefit increases to the general fund of $74,273. We added back a $1,200 expenditure that was accidentally put into district court. It should have been $500 and it was put in as $1,700. So I eliminated the $1,200 error there. We have $72,000 increase to OPD expenditures due to a new RCW and its requirements. And we have included in here the elimination of the 2021 $376,255 transfer from the general fund to the health department. And so those total changes are $291,182. And so that's the difference here. So any questions on any of that or comments? Okay. So we have a few new items to discuss, and the first one is the auditor's elections. They have a prepaid grant of $116,674, and I was really excited when I first saw this because I thought that we could just add that on to the revenue side and that they already had the expenditures in. But after talking to Patty McGuire, they do not have the expenditures in 2021, and this grant goes until 2024. And so he wasn't prepared, I don't believe, at that point in time, maybe because it was election time, I don't know. But he wasn't prepared to enter those into 2021, or they aren't going to expend the money in 2021. So I told him it didn't make any sense to me to add the revenue if we weren't going to add the expense, and he said he agreed. So so we can scratch that one off the table for now. The next one is extra help. So there's a position currently in DEM, and it's fully grant funded, and it's $77,144. It is not included in the maintenance level budget on revenue or expenditure on either side, but I wanted to brief you commissioners before I just added it in. So if you're okay with that addition, I will add that on the revenue and the expense side.
Good.
And if I could add in on that a little bit of explanation on the financial side.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear anything back. I'm thinking, oh God, am I still on mute? Okay. Well, one thing, 9 months of this for 2021 for Will's position, his extra help position. 9 months of it will be a FEMA grant D20-201, and it has a 25% match. So it would be a 25% match of the 9 months. And then I have a second grant that would take care of more time of his, which is an FY20 EMPGS, which is a supplemental grant for $14,144. So as we can't use the EMPG grant as our match, that we cannot do. So it looks like if we did a full year's worth of this position, it would cost us somewhere in the area of about maybe $14,000, $14,000 to $16,000. The rest of it would be covered by FEMA grant or by EMPG grant.
So what you're saying, it is not fully funded.
Right. Yes.
So how much is not? How much?
I can tell you 1 second. Handy dandy calculator here. One second. $14,464. That would get us an extra person for an entire year.
How do we keep track that person is covered by grant money and stuff for the next year and the discussions on the position?
That's something that I need to develop countywide, is, you know, which positions are covered and how. So I can work on that.
And so Ross, that position, regardless, we move forward with it or agree to it, that goes away at the end of the federal fiscal year or at the end of our calendar year? Is that where we get the $14,000 difference?
It would be the end of the calendar year. The last 3 months of it would be the $14,000 from the EMPGS, which sunsets December 31st, 2021.
Okay.
So commissioners, did you want to think about that and come back to that, or do you have any thoughts on that right now? And when I say come back to it, I mean during this meeting.
That's That's good. That's good. Um, so I'd be okay putting it in the parking lot for a few more minutes as we kind of walk through everything else. But this position doesn't give me a ton of concern in terms of overall impact to the budget. I think when you have an opportunity to get something that's 85%, 90% funded with outside money, especially during a pretty significant DEM activation, I think that's probably a good deal for the county. And so I'm not all shook up about it, but probably best to walk through everything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm all for this as well. I just want to make sure we have something to show next year that this is one of those positions that was limited by money coming in, along with others. We've got many in this budget right now, several of them that we've already heard that the money did not come in for them, but we will continue to fund and put them in. Somehow we have to develop something that shows that if it's grant money or contracts, that when that money disappears, the position disappears.
Commissioner Netherland, do you have some examples of that?
Yes, one of the things we just learned is all the different contracts in the sheriff's department. Now, I would still say that we go ahead and fund them, but I'm just saying that that's a perfect example of what we're talking about when we had, what was it? They had 4 different contracts that did not happen when we had the positions created for contracts.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd also like to keep in mind that this position could also, and so I don't know how to say this, make it contingent on receiving additional grants or additional funds from the feds too. So I can imagine, this is not going to go away soon. And so I'm hoping that the state and the Fed and FEMA will help us out a little bit more so that we're not dipping too far into our budgets to manage COVID.
Well, and what's saying that, we have several more of these same type of positions in health and so we need to find some way to capture what those look like and have that conversation at the end of each year.
Yeah, there are quite a few grant funded positions, especially created this year.
Yeah. Where that bow wave could be pretty bad if that money disappears next year and we're still looking at the same situation. I'd like to know what areas to go for immediately before going after long-term positions.
Well, aren't these filled as temporary? I mean, shouldn't HR have some idea of, like when a position ends, it's temporary?
Yeah, they should, but at the same time, how many times have you seen them bring that to show us what it looked like? I haven't.
Well, I mean, maybe this is a poor assumption on my fault. I thought that when it ended and they moved on. I think the sheriff's office, due respect, Commissioner, I think is a little bit of a different situation with some of those contracts. I think those were positions that they had, like the North Mason school resource officer, Deputy Colbinson was already on, and they just shifted his work around a little bit based on that contract. And so it's not.
No, but at one point with Cushman and the like, we did bring on FTE because of the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
We also had that discussion with when they're doing the contracts with the several different schools for the resource officers. But again, I'm not confused. I don't want to not fund those positions. What I'm talking about is just knowing each time that these things happen, we have to have those discussions in the future.
I would assume, like Commissioner Schutte, that the positions, when the grant ends, that the position should automatically go away. But I don't know. My thought was a lot of positions were created for COVID. And so those are more of the positions that I'm concerned with.
How many have we? I mean, this one, I guess, and then the public health one, and then there's, do they have more than
They have, yeah, they have some temporary, yeah, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut in. They have some temporary nurses positions that are doing the contact tracing.
And we have people that are in facilities under REIT that we still should also keep track of. If those REIT dollars, dry up or something, there's quite a few of them throughout the county, and I don't remember in any of the years having a briefing of what they look like and who they are, especially at budget time.
On the REIT dollars, we do have time budgeted under REIT, but there's no actual body designated to that REIT funding.
But when we brought the bodies in, it was specifically because of REIT. We brought in several that were under facilities, and one that was supposed to be for parks and facilities. That's why they were brought back, and those positions were brought back, because they would be funded by that. That's from past budgets that we've discussed. Frank's not on here, is he?
No, he's not.
Okay, because he would remember some of those. We've had those discussions deeper.
Okay. Yeah, I can work on a spreadsheet showing all of the funding related to the different positions.
Is your computer off too?
I'm hearing echoes around here, boy, I'll tell you.
Jennifer, it might just be an easy add. Oh, well, I don't want to say easy add-on, but it might be as simple as adding onto the FTE count spreadsheet that you just sent us. And having it break out there on what's grant funded or temporary hire or extra help or whatever.
Yeah, that would be really simple. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll add it on.
I'll clarify. It might be the simplest place to house that information, so it's a one.
Yes, you're right. That is a really good idea. I will work on that.
Commissioner Netherland, this is Ross.
Yes.
I remember those talks you were talking about, and that's something we were looking at this year with the REIT, the different
Yes.
REIT projects about bringing a person back on
Yes.
for a REIT project this year. So
yes, we're doing it. We're looking at doing it again now. You're correct. And that's what I mean. It's just somehow it'd be nice if we could capture that, at least as a commission, look at these things each year. We have the discussions and we bring them on, but we don't keep track of it from that point on. I've thought about that for many years and I've never seen a solution. Would love to.
Yeah, I think that, oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Just to quickly let you know, I seem to have popped a circuit here. And so some of my items are not working along with some of the girls here because I turned my heater on. So
You did it again?
glad you're not on this circuit.
Yeah. That explains all the running around outside my room. I get it now.
do you have a power strip by
sorry.
chance?
So keep talking.
So I think that, like Commissioner Schutte said, that would be the best place to show that. I would also like to incorporate the expenditures in there as well, like the operating. I think that would be really important to show too. Do you guys think? Do you think?
Sure. My only thing is just if we take somebody in and we bring them in on grant money or under certain circumstances, that we keep a rolling total for the next year to look at where we're sitting on those. If we end up hiring them outside of the grant or whatever special purpose we're bringing them in for, we can note it at that time and move it off of the list. So I'm talking about something a little bit different, but I like all that other information though.
Again, I mean, I think there has to be an HR component to this where it's flagged somehow. Some grants span more than 1 year. It depends. I think about the folks over in public health where they're working on in a lot of cases 2 and 3 year long grant cycles, and so I don't know, there has to be some place where this is being flagged. It's just a matter of, getting that in front of our face every year.
Yeah, and I think position control is going to be the place where that happens. And we almost got it up and running during our PACE training this year. And there's just a few more tweaks, I think, that have to be done to that. So I'll get with Megan and Dawn on that, and we'll try to schedule another training and get that finalized and hopefully put into the 2021 budget or 2021 actual. But I'll keep you updated on that, what's happening with that.
Commissioners and Jennifer, we are still working on position control. We are just about done with all of the last steps since our last training, which is a bunch of the forms, Jen, that you've been signing. So we can move to the next step, but we are hoping to get that done, and that would flag that exactly what you're saying, Kevin, is to be able to say this is a 2-year FTE based on that grant and be able to know which ones are grant based versus current expense. So.
Okay, so we'll keep you updated on that and what's happening with that. So we'll come back to the $74,000 or $77,000 DEM position. We do have Seattle Shellfish estimated lease revenue since last Monday. We had an email from them, or Frank had a phone call with them. I got an email from Frank anyway, that we should add $300,000 for estimated lease revenue for that. So that's good news.
Jennifer, is that does that include, or does that factor in the leaseholding tax?
It I believe the estimate was at 15%, which is what we will get back, including the leasehold excise tax portion of that. So the estimate that Seattle Shellfish said was between 337,000 and 495,000. So in the effort of being conservative, we're thinking 300,000 would be a good number. So yes, long or short answer to your question is yes.
Okay, and is that what's the projection over the next couple of years for that? I mean, is that a once every few years receipt that we'll have, or is there going to be consistent revenue coming from this?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm not sure how the gooey duck harvesting works, like if they only take some of them and leave some for the next year.
I understood when this was put together that it would be a portion each year. It just keep going. They redo it. It takes several years for it to grow. They take this part and they keep moving on. That's what I understood when we did the contract. Believe it or not, this is a piece of property that we almost sold for $97,000.
Yeah, no, this is better than that. So
plus, I think we're still taking in $17,000 a year as rent on top of it was $1,000 an acre.
Mm-hmm. So Jennifer, how are you and Frank proposing that gets treated in the budget? Is ongoing or one time, or do you need a little bit more on that? Or
I need a little bit more information on that before I can answer that. I would think it sounds to me like it's several years long, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a forever revenue, I wouldn't say. Do you think so, Commissioner Netherland?
Yes, I do. I think it's a constant reforestation. If I'm using that term, I don't know what term to use for gooey duck, but basically when they take it up, they redo it, and it's a continual thing. That's what it was supposed to be. we ran into that problem with the burrowing shrimp and stuff, but they seem to have overtaken all that, and now it'll keep coming in.
Okay, so yeah, I would say ongoing then, 300,000 at least to start with. So commissioners, if you're okay with that, I will add 300,000 into the maintenance level revenue.
I'm good for it on this year.
Commissioner Schutte and Trask.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, we think that's a conservative estimate for this year. We'll have to keep an eye on it, and markets fluctuate, so we'll have to, be aware of that. But it's good that that's starting to pay.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm good with that as well. I'm hoping that our timber harvest will increase too, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten a chance to ask Lisa about that. And I believe she's out anyway, so I'll ask her when I get a chance.
Great, sounds good.
Okay, so the other items that we have to talk about are the 1% property tax to bank it or to include it in 2021. And I did get a chance to talk to Patty McLean before our budget meeting. And so assuming that the 1% would be approximately $100,000, we have 51,881 taxable parcels. So that would be an average of $1.93 per parcel. So I thought that might be helpful information.
Can I jump in and read something to you guys, just so you know, on the GUI duck there, their expectation for future years is to increase modestly in 2022, still recovering from the burrowing shrimp infestation, and then begin to significantly increase thereafter. So yeah, it's an ongoing year after year, and it's supposed to get greater each year as they get to a fully functioning system there.
Great, appreciate that.
We need to thank Steve Bloomfield when that time comes. Like I said, we had an offer that came in, and I sat and talked to Steve at the time, and we had went out for a non-binding bid for the timber, and that became so successful. We decided to try it with this land as well. And Steve really pushed, and his civic, caring so much about his community, he kept helping us to work the deal to make it better and better for everybody involved. And it was much better than the other ones that had put bids in by a long shot. So we get a chance. We want to thank Steve on this one.
Yeah, agree, Commissioner.
So commissioners so we have the 1% to think about, and we can come back to that unless you want to discuss that right now.
Say that one more time.
The 1% property tax increase, whether to bank it or include it in the 2021 budget. And that would be approximately an impact of $1.93 per parcel, roughly, considering that there's 51,881 parcels in Mason County. So on average, $1.93. So right now, the 1% is not included in the budget, and actually the whole property tax will need to be adjusted once I work with Sierra and figure that out.
So we have, just my opinion, We have the money to handle what we're doing without the 1%. But if we want to balance the books a little bit better, then that 1% would be necessary. But bear in mind, year over year, we're going to end up this year, even with these expenditures, with more money in the bank this year than we had last year. And it would be expected that at this end of this budget here, we would have more money at the end than we have at the end of this year. So there's definitely a lot of plus. And just to let you know, Tim sent me a thing reminding me the contract for the GUI duck is 16 years, expected to get bigger each year. So 16 years is the contract.
16 more years or 16 total years? Is it 16 from when they start?
Yes.
Producing?
No, 16 years was the beginning of the contract, I believe.
So we're
that was
done.
about 4 years ago. Yeah. Because it takes 4 years to grow the GUI duck to the amount that they need to be.
Right. Yeah. So on the 1%, my position is still bank it. I understand that it's only $1.93 a parcel, but I think as a gesture of goodwill to the community, this is the year to hold off on taking the 1% and banking it. Let's see how the economy trends over the next year and revisit, I think, in 21.
Yeah, I agree. As I said, I think we're going to have more money at the end of this year than we had last year, more money at the end next year than we have this year with what we're budgeting. It would, at some point, we either need to give it back or expend more for services. So let's start by giving it back.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely bank it. And Commissioner Trask, did you have anything you wanted to add onto that?
No, other than, well, my power's back on. And I think it would be a good year to really see if we can help people. People are going to be struggling soon, I think. Anyway, I hate to, this year's been tough enough on people. So if we can help them, that would be great.
Okay, great. So we will bank that. And I won't bring that up again. So, the next item we have is, or I won't bring it up again this year. So
Yeah.
just to clarify. So the next item we have is the levy shift versus the diversion. So any thoughts or discussion on there? And the assessor's office is on in case you have any questions on that they could maybe answer or research.
I'd like to see us put as much as $1 million cushion back into the sheriff's budget so they have the flexibility to use it on wages and overtime, a few other little things that may come up without having to dance at the end to try and make the dollars meet. I think it would take a lot of pressure off of them for having to justify so much. 2.168 million is a lot to justify.
So what would be the downside of not doing a diversion at all and just moving 2.16?
The downside of that is that it's a huge burden on the sheriff's office to record it, prove it, spend it. I don't know.
I'm saying the other way.
Yeah, I think he's talking the opposite.
So Commissioner Netherlands said
sorry.
reduce it by $1 million and do a levy shift. I'm saying is there a downside to reducing it by the full 2.16 million and just doing that as a levy shift instead of any diversion?
The impact to the Shelton community.
So as far as I can tell from the impacts that the assessor's office gave to me as estimates, it does not look like it will have any impact on the Shelton community at this point, but the assessor may have more information on that.
Yeah, for the full amount, I didn't see that. Is she on now? Where's she at?
I believe so.
Her chair is empty.
Oh, okay.
It would just be, whatever that maximum level is, that it doesn't impact the junior district. I don't know if that's, go ahead. Sorry.
It isn't that it impacts the junior district. It is that the increase in those that live in Shelton, because they normally don't pay for the roads, they would go up on their general fund.
And it looks like in years past, it seems like it happened 1 year. I can't remember what year. I think 2017 or so. And it was, so what we did is the county paid the city 80,000, which is what they would have been would not have received.
That was the junior taxing district issue. And in order to do it, we had to pay them off because there wasn't enough underneath the cap for that. What I'm talking about is, and actually Patty's on, maybe she can explain. Patty, if we were to change it to where we actually move that whole $2+ million over, wouldn't the citizens of Shelton have to be paying more on their general fund county tax?
I just tried to call Sierra in here to answer that. So, you know, I'm not 100% sure. We might have to dig into it. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's a wash for us that live in the county because the pie is the same size. But if you move part of the pie over to the general fund out of the roads where the city doesn't normally pay for that, they have to pay more. Does that make?
Well, the city doesn't pay into the general, right?
The city doesn't pay into the roads?
Right. I think, sorry to interrupt. I think, what are you talking about, the Shelton Metropolitan Park District?
No, I'm talking about all the citizens that live in the city of Shelton do not pay both of our taxes.
So they have their own
Yes.
transportation benefit district that they get taxed on versus paying a county road fund.
Yes.
And so I think what Commissioner Netherland is saying, if we diverted the entire amount, then they would basically be taxed twice. Is that what you're saying?
No, that they would get an increase where the rest of the county would pay exactly the same because they were already paying into both funds. You're just shifting the tax that's collected.
So Sierra just walked in. If they shifted, would the city end up paying more? The city's not paying the right? No. City doesn't pay.
So the rate will go,
I can't understand her.
you know, one moment.
She's got some paperwork she's looking at. You want to come over here? Try to turn up my volume on my, I don't have a very good speaker.
So by shifting the funds from the county road to the county current expense, the two tax code areas that are within the city, the consolidated rate will go up. So yes, it will increase.
How much would that increase be? Do you know?
Did you guys hear her okay?
Yeah, we heard her that time.
Do we know how much the increase would be?
Sorry, I muted you guys. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, how much would the increase be?
Well, it depends on the shift amount.
If we did the full amount, $2+ million.
So it's hard to say at the moment because what I had emailed the 3 scenarios to Jennifer, it was based on prior years levy rates and assuming that all the taxing districts will take their highest lawful levy. So it's hard to say without getting all the levy certifications, because right now they're not due until the end of the month. So we can provide you another scenario, but it's hard to say because we don't know what the taxing districts are going to levy.
Yeah, I don't think we're even close to the cap though, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The question is how much more they have to pay per thousand just for the shift compared to everybody else. Everybody will have to pay per thousand. The difference is we're taking it out of one, so they won't have to pay it on the road side.
So with the 2.2 million, 2.16 million, it was an increased rate of 22 cents per thousand.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So I guess just a question for Jennifer. Do you have a number in mind that would make the most sense for the flexibility for both the sheriff's, treasurer, and public works, as well as the least amount of impact to people in the city of Shelton?
I mean, I guess I don't really have a number in mind. I would think 500,000 at the least would be maybe a good number. I don't know how much of an impact it is to our assessor's office to do this. They might have a number in mind to make it worth it, because I know it does have an impact on their department.
In what way? Patty, can you talk about how that would impact your office?
So it would not impact us when we calculate the rates. You would just need so in addition to the two levy certifications, ordinance resolutions, there would need to be a third written statement allocating those funds from the county roads to the current expense. We don't calculate any rates prior. So, I mean, once we receive everything, that's when we calculate rates. So there wouldn't be any additional work.
Because they have to do it for the other as well. Commissioner Trask, the way I'm looking at it, and I'm it's your district, so I'm just throwing out information is all. It's up to you. I'm going to go along with where you're at on this. Basically 1,010,000. The 2 point whatever, you're looking at 22 cents per thousand.
At the point, yeah, the 22 cents per thousand.
Yeah, versus if we did 1 million, you're looking at 10 cents per thousand.
Yeah. That's
rough numbers, but I just want you to be, educated on it. So.
Right. And I was looking at Crab has a pretty good, has a list of all the counties that are diverting, and we are the second highest out of all of them.
Yeah.
And I know that they really have heartburn with this, and so
who's higher than us?
We're number two. Just kidding.
I'm gonna make me look for it.
Now, as you're doing that, I mean, maybe the most prudent thing to do at this point is, no more than $1 million, maybe even just roll it back to where it was in 2017, which was 1.5 million, and you have 660,000, on that side, that would be just a levy shift.
Well, and as I said, I'm comfortable with, wherever you want to go, Commissioner, because we could eliminate the whole thing, but it's going to fall on your district. So, 10 cents is comfortable. We're looking at our 1% was how much she say one? That was per parcel though, but not per thousand. So, wherever you're comfortable, if you wanted to go 5 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents, 22 cents, and put it all behind us, I will support that.
Sorry, I'm looking up the numbers.
As I think about it too, commissioners, just for the sake of preserving some sort of a traffic program, probably wouldn't be the most prudent to completely eliminate it, because we would want to be able to maybe point back to have some help for public works when they have the need for it. And there are some really beneficial components of what CRAB allows. So, just as I think through that.
Okay, so I am on Crab's site here, and so higher than us would be Clark. And then right below us would be Skagit. Oh, no, sorry, Thurston and then Skagit. So we're the only ones that are in the millions. So I don't know, I don't want to add extra burden to the city, but at the same time, I think it's going to happen regardless, and I think it needs to happen. But if we start, maybe just do half now.
So just straight half?
Yeah. So if we did 11 cents would be half, right?
That's what it sounds like, using her numbers.
Yeah. Let's start with half now.
So completely in half, so 1,080,000.
Yeah, and that will help our deputies as well, correct?
Well, I know it sure would make it to where they don't have to go through so many hoops in order to spend it.
You know, if Undersheriff was on the line, we could ask him, but he's not right now, so.
Well, I mean, they're still getting the money. It's just in a different manner. I mean,
Yeah, his response was the last time was he'd love to have it taken off his back. I can tell the one thing about that is I know that Ryan would have so much easier time on making this all work if he didn't have to do that. There's enough work out there doing it for the counties, as Commissioner Schutte mentioned. I actually like the idea of keeping some of that in place to do that because it is beneficial. And I don't want to have to collect it after the fact or something. So
That works for me. And I was just making a joke. I wasn't being serious.
as I said, Commissioner, it's your district, so I'll go with.
Oh, I meant about the Undersheriff. I'm serious about the 1.1.
No, I know that. That's what I meant too. I wasn't talking about the Undersheriff. Kevin, what do you think?
yeah, no, I mean, if Commissioner Trask is comfortable with that, then I will be supportive.
Okay, so just to clarify, 1,080,000 is what we're talking about. Levy shift versus diversion. So that will leave the diversion at 1,080,000 and the levy shift at 1,080,000. Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. No, that's okay.
I just thought of something. Currently, when we set up the number, we have to go back and do a payback at the end of the year. If we do it as this diversion, as a straight, then if there is more that's collected, we don't have to give it back, do we?
If you did a levy shift,
Because you do it by the percentage, you don't do it by the dollar.
yes, that's correct. So yeah, the diversion, anything we collect over that 2.16, we would pay back, and same with 1,080,000 if we set it there. Anything we collect over that will be put back. But yes, if we collect over on the levy shift, then no, that would not have to be paid back.
That's interesting because each year we have to collect some money up and give it back. So that would cut that in half as well.
Did we have to pay back? Was it 200,000 last year or 500?
It was somewhere around 200,000. We have had a year that was, I don't think it was 500,000, but I still need to get that together for you. I have a note too.
But we also had a year where it was 68. So just so you know, so
dollars, cents,
8,000. But either way, it's something we don't have to worry about as much at the end of the year, which is beneficial. And I don't even know why I care, but it just hit me when I was going over the numbers in my head.
Yeah, it definitely would be nice on the administrative side of things not to have the diversion payback, but yeah, I understand the impact is you don't want to have a high impact to the citizens either. So this is a good compromise, I think.
And I think it's going to happen eventually, or it should happen eventually, but let's take it in steps.
Okay, great. So so moving on from that, do you want to go over the FTEs right now? And I'll share a new screen. So this is the total FTEs for the 2021 proposed budget. We have the 2020 FTE changes and then the 2021 FTE changes. And for current expense, at the end of 2020, the adopted budget, we had 256.29 FTEs, and we added in 2020 2.5 FTEs. And in the 2021 budget process so far, we've added 1.5. And those changes in the 2021 budget process include a negative 1 FTE for the assessor's office, the appraiser, a positive 0.5 FTE for the recording manager, moving her out of Fund 104 and into the auditor's office. And then we have a 0 impact change between prosecutor and child support enforcement. We have in the sheriff's office, the addition of the 2 FD corrections deputies. And so that's the 1.5 change. And then the 2.5 FTEs that we've added in 2020 include the addition of the 1 planner and 1 permit tech in the community development department. And then the motor pool, we had an addition of a 0.5 FTE that's split between motor pool and facilities. So that's 4 total impact for 2021. We have a proposed 260.29 FTEs in the general fund. And then on the current expense side, I'm sorry, on the special and other fund side, we have that position that was moved out of Fund 104 and into current expense, the recording manager in the 2021 budget. And that's the only change that we've had in the special and other funds. In 2020, we had the reorg in public work, which amounted to a negative 0.6 FTE in county road. It added up to a negative 0.59, or really a 0.6, but it, rounding 0.6 FTE in a negative 0.6 FTE in utilities and solid waste, and then a negative 0.8 FTE in ER&R. And then we have a 0.6 FTE that was added in community services health. That was a program coordinator that was a 0.4 FTE in the 2020 budget and was up to a 1 FTE in November of 2019. So it really should have been put into the 2020 budget as a 1 FTE and not a 0.4. So that's where that 0.6 comes from. And that's a total overall change of negative 1.9 FTEs in the special and other funds. And so the grand total in the special and other funds are 120.81 FTEs, and grand total in all funds 381.1 FTEs.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I know it's kind of confusing, especially with the utilities and solid waste, the breakdown. So
Well, because we were at all the briefings, I get it.
okay, okay, good. So any comments, questions on this?
Can you go up one more time so I can just see again the top for my brain? Okay. One more, a little bit down, just a touch. Right there. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go on to the special and other funds and review that really quick. Okay, so for the special and other funds, we are currently at $72,357,071 on the revenue side, and then the expense side, we're at $72,357,071. So that balances. Since last time this was briefed, which I believe was on October 26th, we've added a distribution of $3,986 from Fund 405 to the other utilities to get rid of that Fund 405 in 2021. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then we added $53,722 for the 2% cost of living for non-union for the special and other funds. And then we had for health the transfer of $376,255. So we eliminated that that transfer, and sorry, I was just looking for my email on that. So we eliminated that transfer in to the revenue, and we added in $84,198 to their beginning fund balance in health to make their ending fund balance equal zero, which it's not really projected to come in at zero, but I'm not sure what that projection will be, and I didn't want to guess at it. So for the time being, and I mean, it doesn't need to be more than zero for the budget. So I just wanted to point that out, that the ending fund balance is zero for health at this point. So any questions or comments on any of the special and other fund items?
None from me.
None for me.
None for me, thanks.
Okay. And then commissioners, you had asked about the unexpended budget authority. And so I had sent some information on the projection, and I'm projecting that there will be about $2 million that is not spent in ending fund balance between all the departments. But I don't think that our revenue that we're going to receive, are $1 million more than what we had projected. And so I'm still very comfortable with our $14 million ending fund balance projection.
What about the And I understand you're comfortable with that, but looking at budget, we don't have anything budget except for by throwing in a number in the ending fund balance, which is an odd way to do it instead of actually having a line for the unexpended budget authority coming in. But now what about the CARES money?
So the CARES money is going to equate to about $1 million if everything goes as planned into ending fund balance. That number.
When are we expected to receive that money?
As soon as we bill it. So we're talking about doing one billing for a few million dollars out of the sheriff's office salaries and benefits. And then our last billing will be hopefully our last billing to Commerce before or at December 15th will be on all of our contracts and the balance of, if we need to balance to that 5.211 million, we'll bill salaries and benefits for the sheriff's office. I did talk to Katie Eaton with Commerce last week, and she had told me that they are encouraging governments to bill their law enforcement salaries and benefits, to just bill that. But we could do that, except for, we have those contracts that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't like the risks involved with some of the stuff we did.
Yeah, that would put us in a gifting of public funds situation if we don't bill those items.
We won't consider that because there's just no need. I know it's extra work, but man.
Well, and what she was saying is that we shouldn't overbill because number one, the system won't let us overbill. So it will let you bill the 5.211 million. But she said it's, we shouldn't feel uncomfortable billing our law enforcement salaries and benefits. So that was good to hear. So we'll be working on that. But on the ending fund balance for CARES and for all of our budget amendments, if everything goes as planned, we will be adding 1.2 million to our ending fund balance.
Yeah. So now keeping in mind that the end of next year in our budget, we are not putting any money in for the ending fund or for the unexpended budget authority at the end of the year. We can expect, if we balance out now at an expectation of 14 million or so, we'll end up at the end of the year next year with 15 plus.
So I'm not following. I'm sorry. We're not projecting to include in the 2021 budget the unexpended.
That's correct.
Budget
That's what I'm saying.
authority.
Because we're not, and we know that's there, the end fund balance for the end of next year will be upgraded just like we did this year. We budgeted last year, if I'm not mistaken, that we should be close to, what was it, 12 million and the upper 12 million for our ending fund balance. We're going to end up well above 14 million, in my opinion, for our ending fund balance, or beginning fund balance, if you want to call it that. So with that, you keep in mind, I'm just talking about the whole budget as a whole and what we are accepting with some of the stuff we're talking about, because we still have to go back and talk about whether or not to continue with all the positions in the sheriff's department for the corrections or to split that up during the year. We still have to have a discussion about public defender and stuff. So I was just getting that information out early.
Okay. So yeah, do we want to go back up to current expense and go over any of the PLRs, including the 72,000 for OPD? Yeah.
I don't think we have a choice.
Okay.
I agree. Well, I think the choice was whether to go for contract or go for a full body. I'm thinking a full body.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm prepared to move on some things down the line, with other offices and that kind of thing to make it work.
Yeah, I feel like the full body is the best choice. They've needed help anyway, so I think it's the right choice.
Okay, so for OPD then, are we going to use the amount that Peter had on his briefing then?
Do you agree with it?
I kind of glanced at it and
Yes, 72,000. Is that
It doesn't seem right though for a full body.
fully loaded?
Contracted amount.
Yeah, that was the contracted amount.
yeah, the contract amount was 72,000, and he's estimating that a new position will cost 121,850.
That's what I thought. But with that, we get ahead of what we've been battling for a long time, guys. He's done wonders for all these years since he's been there, keeping it down. I think it's time for that investment.
Yeah, I just think I think doing things on contract only get us so far, and I think this is a better use of the money. Gives him a little bit more flexibility in his office. Helps out with the ITA court, the involuntary treatment court that we have going on down at the Shelton ENT, and so. Yeah, I think if the choice is between a body and a contract, you got to go body in this sense.
I have to agree. I think with all the requirements that were being handed down, another unfunded mandate, I think that this is the best way to do it.
Okay, so if we do that, we're adding in another 49,850 into the expenditure side of the current expense budget. And it looks to me like his numbers are probably correct. I mean, just glancing at them, but I have not.
Why don't we add 40 some odd thousand? What am I missing? He said he had a budget adjustment of 40 some odd thousand. That's not that doesn't come out to 121.
So he has 72,000 in his budget already that we included last time for OPD.
So instead of 106,000, it would be 150, rounding up. Is that right for their request?
He's requesting one FTE at $121,850.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we had put into his budget 72,000.
Oh, as a placeholder earlier.
Yes.
That's what. Okay. Remember, we asked her to do that. I know what we're talking about now. I'm trying to figure that out too. So, in addition,
a long time.
now there should still be an offset. He said he's got an offset of 40 some odd thousand.
Yeah, so he does have on his worksheet an offset of revenue of $42,899. So I'll add that in as well.
Yeah, as long as we capture that too, that makes the impact a little less.
So that makes it an impact of $6,951 at this point since last week.
Yeah. So add in the 72,000 or we asked for. So
that's an impact of $78,951.
Thank you.
Total. You're welcome. Okay, so we're all good with adding that position in, is what I'm hearing.
Yep.
And that offsetting revenue. And are there any other PLRs that you would like to revisit?
The sheriff's, the conversation with the sheriff on what's needed for this year.
Yeah, so the two,
The 2 transport deputies.
yeah, sorry, my eyes must be going bad. It's too small. The 2 transport deputies, thank you.
Right, I think Cheryl was going to do some checking on that to see if they were able to do a request.
And she did get back to me on that. Yeah, the 2 transport deputies are 171,968 in total. And yeah, Cheryl did talk to the civil service, and they told her that that yes, they could start the process without budgeted dollars in that position.
But I still think we should, just my opinion, I think we should still keep, I think we should just replace one for the other. We just did basically 70 some odd thousand. That's what, take one position out, because we also did not give them some of the overtime. And that, in my brain, that was part of the cushion of the fact they weren't going to fill one position at least. So I'd kind of still like to keep one of those positions in there.
One of the 2.
Yes, and the reason why is this way there won't be any confusion for whether you can keep applying or testing. But even aside from that, we did not create maintenance in some of their overtime. If something happens, they'd have this to be able to reach into. If not, then no big deal, right?
Yeah. So I was maybe coming at this a little bit differently, but arriving at the same place as you, and think, let's do one FTE now, but I think we're going to have to revisit that at some point.
Yep.
In 21, when this at least gets them gets them in a position where they're able to do the testing and recruiting. But then, it's easier probably to create a position than it is to put together a list of candidates for them. This allows them to do that, and then seeing what the strength of their list is, we'll be able to maybe address this in 21 as Building 10 comes online.
Yeah, and on top of that, they also have one correction position already open on top of this. So it'll take them a while to fill the 2 anyway, but it still won't, they won't be able to fill the second one for probably at least a quarter of the year. That gives them a little bit of overtime cash if needed.
Yeah, it's not looking like Building 10 is going to be available until at least the second quarter.
Okay, that's good then. So that ought to leave them plenty of cushion.
Okay, so remove one of the correction deputies.
And leave one.
And leave one. Okay, so that's 85,984 to remove.
That offsets Peter's. Anybody in the sheriff's department named Paul?
Okay, is there anything else that you want to?
Are they looking on overtime right now? Are they on about the same as far as their hours that were already budgeted?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
How are they doing on their overtime hours?
Oh, I can visit that. I've just been looking at their department as a whole on their salaries, and they've been expending about between 850 to 860,000 a month in total, which includes the OT. So I can look into that.
Okay, just kind of get an idea of where they're at.
Now, we included already in the maintenance their overtime for holidays and stuff, contractual, correct?
Yes, we did increase that.
Because it was maintenance contractual.
Yes.
Jennifer, do you still have hours on there to look at for item A in the assessor's office? I'm not butting in. I just wanted to make sure before you finished.
Yeah, we do still have that, and that's in the PLR column here. Whoops, as part of this 2019, and actually that difference is
Should be $3,300 more, I think.
yeah, I think it was 33 or 36. Oh, 3760. So the difference between the 3760 and the 2019 is the 2% non-union adjustment that I threw into ending fund balance. So, so yeah, we still have that outstanding.
If Patty's on there, she want to answer? I don't know if she's at her desk. So we had requested before to change one of the appraiser lines to appraiser analyst, but we had intended to have two eventually. This is where this all started. So the last thing on our request for the coming year was to promote Ida Mae Jensen from appraiser to appraiser analyst.
But we don't do that.
Well, we have done this several different ways already. We spoke with you and found out we had to go a different route, and we spoke with Frank. We did paperwork with Dawn, and then Frank told us to do it this way because we were not able to get it into the negotiations. Well, no, I'm sorry, that's clerical. I apologize. We have tried several different ways and we have been unsuccessful. So he emailed me a couple of months ago and said to do it this way this time. So all we're asking to do is to reclassify so that we have two appraiser analysts in our list of appraisers instead of just one. And to promote a person into that line that's already been doing that job. And in the grand scheme of things, it's $3,300 per year more that she would make.
So what was the recommendation again from Frank?
To do it through this process. I sent all the paperwork before we were going to have this discussion today, and it should be available to you. And of course, we've briefed it, and we're told, remember, we only asked for one analyst when we had that reclassification a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we didn't ever intend to limit ourselves to just one analyst, but we didn't ask for two at the time. This has just been an ongoing discussion, so.
So is there a second analyst line item in your budget, in the budget?
There is not. That's what we want to do, is rename one of the appraiser lines. So we would have 4 appraisers and 2 analysts, and that's it. And we've given back 1 full-time employee position that you had asked us to do before. So we did that this year. So our budget is lower than, ours was lowered this coming year, not increased.
Vicki, did you send that directly to us?
I did. I sent a 3-person email. I apologize, after our last discussion. And I addressed it to each of the 3 commissioners.
Okay,
I guess I did.
Pull it up. Trying to know where to, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just looking for it too, Vicky, and
It was a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't save it if I did get copied on that email.
And I'll forward it to you. I have it. Okay, there it's should be in your inbox, Jen. I don't encourage you to open your inbox now.
Thank you.
You know, the thing is though, Vicky, I'm sitting here trying to, we've never done it like this. If we did it like this, then right now do that during budget. Wouldn't it be fair that everybody would be able to have that conversation
Well,
about reclassifying their employees? And
I apologize that I am new to this. However, we tried going through the proper channels and we're told to do it this way. So that's the only reason I'm sitting here today.
I definitely am not prepared to do a reclass through budget without an actual reclass briefing
Well,
decision
to
made.
be honest with you, I got nowhere on budget negotiations as far as changing names and eliminating positions that don't even exist in this office. I mean, I understand that COVID hit and, you know, stopped all our negotiations, but we've got things in our list, paperwork from your office that comes to us when we prepare our budget. And those jobs don't even exist in this office anymore. It's, you get something on there and then you can't take it off. And then you're told to negotiate it when the contract comes through. And then it's delayed again or put off to the side, and then other things are discussed. And I simply am trying to streamline what we're doing and pay people that are in the office doing the jobs that we ask of them what they deserve. Because seriously, she has been doing, and the two that are doing the sales analyst job are providing Patty with the information to give to Department of Revenue. I mean, that's what they are working on this week. So, I mean, it's an important job. It's an important part of the job. And we will always need two analysts. We will.
So commissioners, just looking back here through some of the documentation that Vicky had sent to us. It looks like on July 1st, Frank recommended to Vicky that they proceed with it through the budget process. Says, please proceed with the 2021 budgetary request to create a second senior appraiser tech classification. And then it's appraisal analyst. He had that wrong. But for item A, as the approved 2020 budget position control has only one senior appraiser tech authorized. So it looks.
I think we started this back in March or April. I mean, it's been ongoing for a while. And we briefed you, like I said, we were told we had done it incorrectly. So we tried doing it the proper way, and this is where we have ended. Is Patty in there yet? She's awfully busy.
I'm in here, but I don't.
There she is.
Sorry, I was on the other line for a minute and talking with somebody else.
So
I
this
think
is
what we're asking is why it wasn't put up there in the approved part of recognizing item A moving from just a senior to an analyst, like we were told it was going to. Is that what you're asking, Vicki?
No, they left it off because the other things were approved in the beginning, and this is the last thing that we didn't get it taken care of.
yeah, and since that July meeting, I'm sure we had a briefing on this. That's what we talked about just recently. And I thought it did not meet it at that time. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I keep.
You are. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I'm going to say that you're thinking of Sierra Stiles in the levy position. And that is different. And we did have a conversation about that recently. You're right.
So we have not been briefed on this at all?
On item A, yes, we have. Kevin's got the email up. I believe we started this back in March or April.
Yeah, it was initially briefed in April. It looks like a email or a request to do a reclass was sent over in June, and then in July is an email thread in which Frank says to go through the budget process to have this position created. So it's not I don't know if this is a reclass, or if it isn't a reclass, that it would definitely be creating a second appraiser analyst position. And then that would be, I think that's why this would be an appropriate venue to have that conversation versus why you would be reclassing, because you can't reclass somebody into something that doesn't exist, right?
Okay, so my terminology is wrong. That's
No. I'm just saying, like, you only have
right.
two. You want two, but you only have one.
Right.
So now we need to create it. You're asking us to create a second.
Yes,
analyst.
instead of one of the appraisers, another analyst line. Yes.
Right. I think there's another email sent October 13th.
Yeah, that's the one that I have from Vicky that has these attachments that I'm reading.
Yeah. Oh, can't hear you, Randy.
You're talking about creating this other position and doing away with one?
Well, yes, it would be, instead of 5 appraisers and an analyst, we would have 4 appraisers and 2 analysts. 6 appraisers still total.
Oh, the same FTE, same number of FTEs, right?
13. We've given back 1, yes. So we have 7, 5 clerical, Patty and myself, and 6 appraisers, yes.
Yeah, so they're the only ones with a negative PLR request because of that position that was given back.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of what you're saying, is that because you're giving it back, there needs to be more efficiency within the office. I don't know.
Is this a union position?
Yes.
And have the unions okayed this?
Well, negotiations on that contract don't start until next year. However, yes, they did agree to the analyst position. That's how we added it last year in the first place.
With the cancellation of an appraisal position?
Pardon?
With a cancellation of an appraisal position?
Yes, and now we're canceling one of the appraiser positions. But we never intended to limit ourselves to simply one analyst. We just didn't ask for 2 when we asked for the 1. Sorry.
No, I mean, it's making more sense to me as to why this is the process that you were being asked to go through. I mean, I will say this: I'll tentatively agree to do it, pending, just confirming with Frank, since he's not on, that this is what he had in mind.
Okay.
And pending that, as Commissioner Netherland mentioned, that the unions are all good with it.
Okay.
That's just my position.
I'll see about contacting Shandy and.
Well, actually, you should probably have Frank doing some of that.
Okay.
Stuff. And, we have some parameters that's what I'm worried about right now, is that we're jumping over areas that we shouldn't be without going through proper. I'm really worried about that. And, it's not the issue. It's not the position. That's not where my concern is. It's so many other parts of this. It's just not, we should have had this conversation when we were first talking budgets and we had our meetings with each other, and we had Frank and them here. Doing it at this point, it just makes me nervous, especially without knowing the union or anything.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think we did cover it at our budget briefing, but we left it in PLR form.
Correct.
And that's, I think, what I think that's why Vicky then sent us the information that she did.
Right. Okay. You want me to email Frank or you want to? Jennifer will.
I sent a text out to him to ask if he was available anywhere. I haven't heard anything back.
Okay.
Jennifer, do you want to just confirm with Frank and then we can push
Yeah,
it?
so I can, oh, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, I'll confirm with him on that. Do we want to tentatively add it in for now then? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm okay with adding it in.
So the other thing, and I think maybe this is part of what Commissioner Netherland is saying too. You know, if we create the position, it's, and this is going to have to be, this is where Frank is going to come in play here in HR. You probably have to post it, an interview for it, and then it isn't an automatic. That's just the process. So just to be mindful of that on your side.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how this is different than this is different than a reclass in that regard.
Okay.
Since we're adding a new position, you know, a new line, that it has to be, you have to follow the traditional hiring process.
Yeah, you can't just guarantee it to the person like you were just saying a minute ago. You just can't do that. And you get us all.
And that was not my intention at all.
Gotcha.
I believe that's why we started in the reclass direction before, because it's already somebody who works here. But yeah, whatever we need to do the proper way, that's fine.
Yeah. So I just think, you know, we need to get a little bit more confirmation on that, and then hopefully we're nearing the end of all this anyway, and we can just kind of plug it in once we have all the details.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Vicky.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that then, right now, we started out at 1.482643, $1,482,643 out of balance between revenue and expense. And we're talking inter-period equity, what's coming in, what's going out in 2021. Removing 300,000 or adding in 300,000 into revenue for Seattle Shellfish brings us to 1.182643. Adding in to OPD between revenue and expense 6,951, and then removing 85,984 for one FTE in the sheriff's office for the corrections deputy, and adding in $3,760 for tentatively for the appraiser analyst change, brings us to an out of balance amount between revenue and expense of $1,107,370. And we still have to address, again, I think that's where we left off on the DEM position, the $14,464 impact of the almost fully grant funded position. That's a temporary.
I think we have to do that when it makes, I think we might as well put it behind us and say, yes, that's my opinion.
Yeah, you know, and I think one of the other things is, you know, if there is another round of funding that comes in, you know, make sure we're looking for that to apply that to the 14,000.
I do want to make sure that we have it on the list though to look at next year.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll have that position control in place. We better. But one way or another, I'll get that to you guys. I'll get that information to you, commissioners.
So Jennifer, on the district court, weren't some of their items projections due to COVID. So they increased like their postage and interpreter fees and travel. Some of their items, it seems to me like they were projecting into the future regarding COVID. So because they're not having in person, so their postage went up.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely somewhere we could look at. And, you know, looking at where they're at on their current budget, I think that, you know, they're not in dire need of additional budget is my gut feeling on that department. At least not the full 44,500. They might argue that, but
I mean, it's not a large amount, but every small amount adds up.
I'm happy. I mean, I'd be agreeable to moving that over to back to PLR.
okay. So
Sorry, what was that, Commissioner?
All of it?
Yeah, is that, I mean,
Well, some of it was not. So there's like the bailiff, the judge pro tem. I would say just the specific COVID related items.
Well, and I think some of the judge pro tem is not going to come out to be as accurate either. I hate to say it that way, but we saw that the last time we inflated that. Jennifer had made some comments to me about that when we met here earlier. Jennifer, can you expand on that a little bit?
well, I was just looking at their unexpended budget authority projection, and I mean, it looks like their budget is not quite as tight as, say, Superior Court at this point in time, and you know, we're only adding in $4,000 into Superior Court, and so I mean, we could always remove some of that and then keep an eye on it for 2021 is a thought. I mean, definitely not the UA costs, that has offsetting revenue, that $2,000. And then the bailiff, the $6,000, I would keep that in, but
yeah, you know, I think some of these things, you know, there's still some uncertainty. We could always address that through a supplemental. You know, for at least the first quarter, they're going to have capacity. You know, and we can continue to monitor it. I think that would be the appropriate way to go. And you know, and just sort of assess the need as we go.
so the UA costs and then the bailiff, that would make the additional 36,500. Is that the amount that you're thinking, or some other amount, commissioners?
So you're saying 36,500.
Removing that from maintenance level?
Yeah. What's the IT trackable?
That was a printer.
So that's a one-time,
Yeah, that was a one-time.
and they don't have it already.
Not that I'm aware of.
Is that split at all between trial court improvement or anything, or is that just straight up?
I believe that is straight up district court.
Okay.
But I'll make a note and check on that.
And I don't want to. I'm not going to argue over 500. I guess at this point.
Did you say no?
I mean, I'm fine. I guess I'd be fine paying for the printer.
Okay.
So I don't know that you necessarily. I wouldn't have you necessarily go track that down.
Okay, so that leaves 36,000. So is there anything else?
So, well, not related to them. So I'm sorry if you mean just for a district court. No, not for me.
So, um, Superior Court has bailiff increase of 4185 and District Court has 6,000. Is there, do they not use the same service, or does it cost more for District Court than it does for Superior Court?
Look at where we're at with their. Districts 100. So the bailiff in Superior Court is budgeted at 12,061. And the bailiff in District Court is budgeted at 9,000. I mean, although there's, 3 judges in Superior Court and 1 in District Court, so that might be part of the difference, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I can look into that too.
More of a curiosity thing than anything, but might be nice to know.
Yeah, definitely. So do we want to entertain then moving some of this out? And how much?
You said it was 36,000?
Yeah, if we keep the bailiff, the UA costs, and the IT trackable amount, that equals 8,500. And the total PLR amount that we have approved is 44,500. So that would leave 36,000 to remove at this point.
I'm good with that.
Same.
Commissioner Netherland, yes. Okay.
As long as we keep open the idea that if it does start to catch up on them, we will have that discussion on the supplemental.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then the other item that that's in here is the Q list, which is, it's currently budgeted. We're paid through July, but that is something that we could look at that is COVID related. So just a thought that roughly $10,000 is spread between the assessor, the auditor, and the treasurer.
Right.
When
If
you look at it as COVID related, obviously I think it is, but what is that? I mean, what are you proposing? How do you propose to handle that?
I mean, I'm just saying it could be an option to remove out of the budget.
Pay it early.
I don't know that we can prepay it.
Well, if we can't, then how can we write it off on? Because it has to be expended.
Yeah, I mean, we're paid up through July 1st, I believe, is the date. I was just throwing stuff out there.
well, and if we can, yeah, if we can open back up, then it may not be necessary.
So that kind of begs the question then, like, what happens to this? I mean, obviously the software goes away, then what do we do with the infrastructure or whatever you want to call it? not necessarily a question for now, but something that,
Mm-hmm. Good
then-
question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that you asked that during, when we purchased it originally, and I don't remember what the answer to that was.
yeah, I feel like that was a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Feels like it.
I don't think there's any room to touch anything now anyway. So we'll just have to deal with it. And if something disappears, we can always take away. We never talk about that, but if something doesn't happen, we can always come together and also change the budget to remove funds that we gave for something that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
That would be kind of cool.
that's a novel concept. So
That in 2017, right?
yeah, right. I guess one of the other things, and this is probably requires a little bit of a deeper dive, Jen, on your part. But looking for any places that we could save, in particular on travel, where those have been increased. I mean, we obviously looked at it. Travel has a $500 increase in district court that we just scalped out of there, but I don't foresee us needing to encourage, or should we be encouraging travel, at least in the first half of 2021. So what, maybe taking a look at what ground we can make up by, eliminating some of those line items, kind of across the board. We've cut our travel in the past, certainly not using it now.
We should have a credit this year as far as the
I
travel.
don't think I ever have, except for risk pool, which is reimbursable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think most departments have reduced their travel budget. I mean, I can go through and look. I mean, are you talking about like eliminating the travel or just reducing it?
Yeah. I think if in some cases, if we can, zero it out or close to zero it out, I mean,
Except for remember that some of that travel was there to go to different functions that are needed and required by them for things. I remember that part of the conversation.
Yeah, I think most of their travel now, everybody is doing, you don't have to travel because you have the Zoom meetings or the Zoom trainings or the Zoom conferences, or everything seems to be remote. So it seems to me like we should be able to cut way back on that.
and then again, that's another one of those things. Let's say we get to July and, we have the vaccine or things are opening up differently. We could always entertain requests, as needed to, through a supplemental, or, if it's that critical, they would be able to have that capacity up front to move around within their budgets if there was absolutely necessary travel. I just don't foresee conferences and, trips to the legislature happening in a traditional sense in 21. And it might give us an opportunity to make up some ground.
Yeah, I know all legislature, everything will be remote. Nobody will be there in their offices, not even the legislative assistants.
So we don't necessarily need to agree one way or another right now, but if we're all good with maybe Jennifer just taking a look at it and seeing what the numbers look like, and if there is an opportunity to make up some there, maybe we can revisit that particular thing one more time.
Do we want to maybe kind of include that as part of like a one-time cost type thing, instead of me going through and picking it out, removing it from every department?
That's fine too, I guess. I mean, I just don't necessarily know what that buys us, but if you think that's a good alternative, I'm open to that.
I'm just wondering if it'll even be a material amount that we would even want to bother with for the amount of time that it takes. But I can go through and see what it is and give you a number and see if you want to mess with it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I want to understand kind of your thought on treating that as a one-time expense and what that gets us. I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, right now with adding in the DEM and removing the district court 36,000, we're at 1,085,834 out of balance between revenue and expense. Last week when we briefed, we had about 725,000 worth of one-time costs. So, you know, the difference, we could just kind of use that as a
$300,000 bow wave. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can definitely look at it and remove it if that's what you want to do.
Would you be able to just tell, like, if we just kept it flat from last year, the travel side, if we kept it flat, and you know, like if you just looked at what was travel PLR wise that we also have accepted, or is that all pretty clear here? Was it just district court?
I believe a lot of departments reduce their travel in this budget. But I mean, I can go through and show you what last year was versus what this year's ask is.
One of the reasons why is we gave them a bunch of extra the last year because of new electeds and trainings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're encouraging training people to go out and get more education too. But since they weren't able to, next year might be the same as this year.
So yeah, on the travel, I mean, would that be helpful if I showed what 2020's budget was versus 2021's ask? Then I'll shoot you a little spreadsheet showing that.
Yeah, I think, you know, yeah, and for me at least, and then, you know, and I think if it's less, if 2021's is less than 2020, then, you know, maybe not mess with it any further, but I don't know.
I'm just thinking if we eliminate it completely, I mean, which, you know, you definitely can do that. I'm thinking people will come back and
Except for
about how they need it.
except for I remember the prosecuting attorney's department, I believe, had some that they had to have to go to their training that's required. There was also things for in the road department, or you know, through financing that where they had to get their credits. The same thing with Leo and Leo's department.
So those are tuition, you know, and I don't see the bar having their continuing education credits happening in person. So tuition is different than travel in my mind. And I think it's different in bars too.
So do you want the travel and the tuition?
No. I was specifically asking about travel.
Okay. So Paige just gave me the total travel for she's awesome. So the 2020 revised budget is 172,724, and this is in the entire budget, not just current expense. So so we have 172,724, and then the 2021 prelim amount was 108,828. So that is the prelim and not budget level 3. That's the department asks. So so what is in our budget level 3, I believe, is going to be
Less?
Yeah.
slightly less, but not much because all of our open PLRs,
So we're looking at about 70 grand less this year?
um,
Is that what you said?
yeah, overall, and then for current expense. Okay, for current expense, we were at 82,313 for the revised budget and 65,396 for the prelim. So yeah.
Well, as I said, if it's lower than this year, then I won't pursue it any further. So good job by everybody recognizing that.
Thank you, Paige. All right. Is there anything else you want to revisit or visit new?
So community development, all of theirs, we had already agreed to, right? And for the budget, I mean, there are already positions and.
And it was revenue in, revenue out for that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's all fee supported except for the Belfair UGA, which is a one-time, the 100,000, and we basically, I think, forced that on them, right? I mean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And then so is the lead day. That has an end date. So
Right.
that's a one-time.
Yeah, and I did forget to add that in, I believe, into the 725. So I think I can go back and revisit that too. Not that that really matters, I guess, that much. Is everybody still there?
Yep.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Yep.
It was so quiet, I thought I lost. Okay. So right now we're at 1,085,834 out of balance between revenue and expense. So that's higher on the expense side than on the revenue. And so that would come out of ending fund balance in 2021. That includes the 3,760 again that I'll email Frank on the appraiser analyst. But I think we made a lot of headway today.
Of that 1,085,000, 750,000 plus is one time, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I need to go through and give you guys a better one-time, more solid one-time number. So I'll do that. And then the other thing that is still not in this budget are the general services Teamsters numbers. I did not have a chance to get anywhere on that last week. So I will have time this week to do that. So I'll nail that down and enter that into the budget. But I think we're almost there, depending on, I mean, if you want to, if we're looking to adopt with our revenue and expenses balanced with what we are receiving in 2021 versus what we're expending in 2021, then we have a long ways to go. But if you're comfortable adopting with that number out of out of balance and eating into ending fund balance, then I would say we're almost done.
And we've added in the general services, the non-represented salaries, correct?
The 2%, yes, non-union, that is in there, but not the Teamsters general services, no.
Okay.
When do you anticipate that we'll have that loaded in?
I am thinking by tomorrow, I should be able to have that. Last week, I just didn't get a chance because that budget amendment took a lot of time. So, you know, I couldn't fit it in.
Yeah, no problem. I just trying to think a little bit. What do you know the number off the top of your head or ballpark?
So I had originally guessed that it was about 35,000, but I think it's going to be more like 90 probably for current expense, because the numbers that are in our budget, our last contracts numbers, which ended in, what was it, 2018? So we have 2019's percentage to add, 2020 and 2021. So it's going to be quite an impact.
Okay. This, you know, I as a general rule, this kind of starts to get to the upper limits of my comfort level long term. You know, and I think we're all mindful of that, especially as we head into next year. I don't think that we did anything here that was avoidable. You know, and so I think my bottom line is, you know, we've funded our reserves. All of our reserves are fully funded in this budget as it is. And so that's my top priority. And, you know, making these things work, you know, for the county into next year is important for kind of our long-term strategy. But we'll have to figure out, you know, we'll have to just, as always, right? We'll just have to be mindful of the bow wave and how we manage that. And, you know, as we head into 21, keep monitoring it. And as we look at the 22 budget, you know, have another opportunity to, you know, assess things and see what's working and see what isn't, and just keep after it.
Nope, I hear you and I agree. I think we're doing pretty good, especially for my second year with the budget. Still quite an eye opener.
Again, and I know we are. I'm looking at this, and you know, knowing that there's certain type things that could be considered revenue. We're not calling revenue. You know, you have the ending fund balance that we're calling it. That's just an estimate that we're putting in, but we're not calling it revenue for the year. But if you look at the ending fund balance compared to what you had last year, that's in a sense going to be revenue. Just like if you have unexpended budget authority, there's nothing in there that comes in at the end of the year because it hasn't been expended. That could be considered some revenue. We're well within any of the parameters that would mean money in, money out. We're going to be growing our bottom line, our ending fund balance through this process. We're going to be closer to 15 at the end of this. So we'll see.
Okay, so so I'm hearing that we're almost done. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So I will try to have the general services Teamsters numbers to you by tomorrow. And then we can brief again next Monday. Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Oh, I thought next Monday we didn't have anything.
I thought that we left it open as a placeholder.
That we had our meeting on Tuesday, nothing on Monday.
I can check with Diane.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have anything scheduled for
I think
Monday.
you're correct.
Yeah.
16th is open.
So maybe we can meet Tuesday in between or something if we have to.
Before the Board of Health meeting, we have a Board of Health meeting at 3.
Yeah. In between our regular meeting and the Board of Health.
Mhm.
Okay, would that be preferable to meeting on Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you, and commissioners, thank you very much for your hard work on this. This is an outstanding budget we got going here. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, and then hopefully by next Tuesday, then also I might be able to get with Sierra and see if there's any estimates for property tax revenue for the budget. So hopefully I'll have some numbers to, and hopefully it will go up and not down. But, you know, whatever way it goes, I'll adjust that in the budget. So just so you're aware. And do we want to go through and recap, or does everybody feel pretty good about what we did?
I'm comfortable.
Same.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, you guys.
Real quick, sorry, I don't mean to prolong this. I'm looking at my calendar for next Tuesday, and I have a meeting with WASAC from 1 to 2:30 with the behavioral health work group. So it would have to be at 2:30 for me, unless we can figure it out, fit it in the morning after our exit conference with SAO.
And what time was Board of Health?
At
3.
3.
Okay. If we could fit it in after SAO, that would be good. I don't think it will be a long budget briefing.
That works for me.
And then maybe if there, you know, if we end up taking more time, we can squeeze it in after 2:30. Well, I guess we would have to stick to the time given. So, okay, I'll just ask Diane to put it in after SAO.
Great.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.